Hello and welcome to 6-4. Today we are going to talk about bar graphs. Now most of this is stuff, it should be quite a good review, but we do need to remember that when we're doing our bar graph we need to label. This would be our x-axis and our y-axis. So we might put numbers on our x and y axis, but we need to make sure we label and always have a title for our bar graph. So let's look deeper into what a bar graph is and how do we use that data to interpret different things. All right, so first they're going to ask you questions. They'll give you the bar graph and they'll ask you questions from it. In this case, it says which biome in the graph has the most rainfall. So we're looking for which one has the tallest bar. So this is inches of rain, and these are the different biomes. Look at, they labeled both their x and y axis, and they have their title going here. They are going up by even or equal intervals, 40, 80, 120. They're adding 40 each time. That's very important that those are equal intervals. So if I look at which one has the highest rainfall, it would be the rainforest. Okay, that would be our one with the highest most rainfall. Which biomes in the graph have an average yearly rainfall of less than 40 inches? So here's my 40 inches. So I'm going to say which ones have less. I'm going to guess it's the tundra. Okay, so the tundra is the only one that has less. Now those are pretty easy. We just have to look at the graph and figure out what data that is. It doesn't say explain, it doesn't say any of that. We're just taking the information that's given to us on the graph and answering questions about it. Now this is where it's going to get a little bit trickier. We need to take the data that we have and we need to put it into a bar graph. So I know my title of my bar graph is going to be coal reserves. Okay, that's the title. Then I'm going to make my x and y axis. Along the side, I'm going to do billion metric tons. Metric tons. And I like to label first because if I don't label first, I know I'm going to forget to label. So it's always very important to me to label first. Then along the bottom would be our continents. Okay, so our continents that we have are Asia. Then we have Europe. And lastly, we have Africa. Okay, and then along the sides, I have to figure out what am I going to go up by. What is going to be my interval that I'm going to use? So I have to have one that's 66. That's pretty little. Then I have to go all the way up to 695. So I think the interval I would choose, even if I went up by hundreds, you know what, I could go up by hundreds. I feel like that would be appropriate. So if I go here, 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700, 800. Oh, and I only need to go up to 695. Okay, so then on the side I would write 100. I have to label all of them. 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700, 800. Okay, so now I get to do the fun part, and that is draw in my data. So Asia has 695, so that's going to be right below 700. So I'll start here. I'm going to choose one color, just put it right below, then I could color it in. Okay, next I have Europe, which is just over 400. And you can see these bars are not touching. We want to make sure that our bars do not touch. They run parallel to each other. And then lastly, I'm going to do 66, which would be a little more than half. Way up to 100. That's probably a little high. Am I going to mark you off if you're a little high? No. I know this is all eyeballing. I wouldn't mark you off for that. Okay? So, there we have our title. We have labels on both of our X and Y axis. Our bars are not touching. We have an equal interval on the way up. So, I think we're good. Let's go to the next question. All right, now this one wants us to make a double bar graph. Now that's a little bit trickier, but we can do it. So let's start by making our X and Y axis. Okay, my title is going to be, this is going to be tricky to fit in here. Life expectancies in Atlantic South America. Now you will have a lot more space. I'm trying to do this on an iPad mini. So hopefully you will be able to organize things a little bit better. So across the bottom we will have things like Brazil, Argentina, Uruguay, and then lastly Paraguay. Okay, and these are all countries in South America. Okay, Then we have to do another key where pink will be female. And blue will be male. Okay, and then I would put a box around it, and I would say this is my key. Because we're going to have 2 bars for each country, a female and a male. So we have to make sure that we are getting that nicely. Double bar graph. Okay, so one thing we can do, because we see we're not going to have anything, you guys, from 0 until 59, it looks like. 59 is the lowest. So one thing we can do is we can put a break in our line. So then I could jump up all the way and go to 50. And then I could do 60. 70, 80. Does anybody have a 90? That'd be a pretty old life expectancy. Nope, 79 looks like the tallest. Okay, so, and this would be years. So we have everything labeled. We have our title. We have equal increments. We made a break, which means we don't have to start at 10. Because from 10 to 50, there's nothing. So it's best, it makes things easier if we just skip that and we could say we're going to start at 50. And then this would be a 0 down here. Okay, so let's start off with the female population of Brazil are expected to live until 69 years old. This is pretty interesting stuff. So then I'd color that in pink. Okay, and then to do the male is 59. So then, touching the pink one, I'm going to do the males right next to it. That helps us organize things because we know that these 2 are touching, so they both belong to Brazil. Then, female Argentina is 79. Wow, just by living in another country, you're expected to live 10 years longer. So then I'd color that in. And the male is 71. Now those two are a little closer together than Brazil. Okay, and then Uruguay. Female is 79 again, so that should be about the same length, same height as Argentina. And male is 73. Oh, even better for Uruguay. And lastly, Paraguay. Female is 74. Not so good. And then 70 for the male. Those are pretty close together, really. 4 years only. Okay, so this is called a double bar graph. It's called double because for each country we have 2 bars. And now some people, to make it even more accurate, they like to put the numbers on top of it. So the females, they would do, this is 69, this is 79, this one is 79, this one is 74. Just because it's hard to be exact when we're just making them by hand. 59, 71, 73, and 70. So that's all that we have. Now these do take a while, and I'm sure that tomorrow there won't be that many problems, that we'll just be able to take our time on doing our bar graphs. But anyways, thank you for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow.